The phone barely rings before the dispatcher picks up. 911, what's your emergency? A woman's voice erupts through the line, breathless and panicked. Oh my God, there's so much blood. He's not breathing. The dispatcher's voice remains steady, trained for moments like this. Ma'am, I need you to take a deep breath. Who isn't breathing? The woman chokes on a sob, gasping. My husband. He's not moving. I think, oh God. Ma'am, listen to me. Is he injured? A sharp inhale, a pause that stretches too long, then a whisper, so soft it barely registers. There's so much blood. The dispatcher sits up straighter, fingers flying over the keyboard. I'm sending emergency services to your location. Stay with me. A muffled rustling, a sharp, shaking breath. Then, a sudden silence. Ma'am, are you there? The line goes dead. Flashes of red and blue paint the night, their glow slicing through the stillness of the quiet suburban street. Inside their homes, neighbors peer through parted curtains, their whispers mixing with the distant wail of sirens. The officers move with silent urgency, stepping out of their vehicles, hands near their holsters. Calls like this, they rarely end well. The front door swings open. The scene inside is pure carnage. A man lies motionless on the polished hardwood floor, a crimson pool spreading beneath him. A bullet wound gapes in his chest, a dark, gaping hole where life used to be. The acrid scent of gunpowder lingers in the air. A woman kneels beside the body, her fingers drenched in red, her breath shallow. Her face is ghostly pale, eyes unblinking, unseeing. A gun rests just inches from her trembling hands. An officer steps forward, boots sticky against the blood-soaked floor. He exhales sharply, shaking his head. Jesus Christ, he mutters. The woman slowly lifts her gaze. Her lips part, but no words come out. For a moment, time holds still. Then, darkness. The screen fades to black. A caption appears. 3 months earlier. The world rewinds, back to a time when things seemed perfect. Back to a life that was never meant to last. Olivia Harper had spent years perfecting her role. A mother, a wife, a woman who made a house feel like a home. Her mornings were filled with routine, packing lunches, checking homework, ensuring every detail of their family life ran smoothly. The world outside saw a woman who had it all. But inside, something was shifting. Eric Harper looked like the perfect husband. He was polished, confident, always composed. A respected attorney with an impressive career and a commanding presence. Their life together was picture-perfect on the surface. A beautiful home in an affluent neighborhood. 2 children who thrived under their care. People envied them. If only they knew. At first, Olivia ignored the late nights. Work came first, she reminded herself. Eric's ambition was part of what made him who he was. But the absences stretched longer. The excuses grew thinner. Conversations became short and forced, his affection mechanical. She told herself it was just stress. But in the quiet moments, doubt wrapped around her like a cold whisper. The decision had seemed simple. With Eric's long hours, Olivia needed help. A nanny for the children. Camila Rodriguez arrived like a fresh breeze. Young, radiant, with an effortless charm that made the children adore her within days. She was not what Olivia had expected. Camila became more than a helper. She was a presence, a part of the house. She laughed easily, moved comfortably, blended seamlessly into their lives. And Olivia, always seeking connection, began to confide in her. She never considered that Camila might not just be listening, but watching. It started as nothing, a fleeting look, a pause that lasted a second too long. Olivia noticed how Camila moved freely, like she belonged, how Eric's eyes lingered when he thought no one was watching. She dismissed it. Then Camila laughed at something on her phone and quickly tucked it away when Olivia walked in. For the first time, Olivia wondered. Eric's work hours stretched further into the night. The excuses repeated themselves. Case meetings, late filings, unexpected deadlines. But Olivia wasn't naive. She felt the shift in the air, the cold space between them growing larger. His touch felt foreign, his voice distant. And she knew. She wasn't looking for proof, but proof found her. The scent of a woman's perfume on his suit, not hers. His phone, once an open book, now guarded by new passwords. And Camila, always smiling at something on her screen, her eyes flashing with amusement before she'd hide her phone away. The thought was small at first, fleeting, dismissible. But doubt planted itself deep in Olivia's mind, whispering. And the whisper became a scream. Something was wrong. She just didn't know what. Yet. The moment Olivia steps into the hallway, the laughter dies. Eric and Camilla stand too close, his arm resting casually against the counter, her fingers tapping against the rim of her coffee cup. Their eyes flicker toward Olivia, then away. She forces a smile. "What's so funny?" Camilla shakes her head, feigning innocence. "Just something Eric said." Eric clears his throat, reaching for his phone. "Nothing important." The words sound too easy, too prepared. Olivia's stomach twists. The mist calls, the screen lighting up in the middle of the night, only for Eric to swipe it away, his phone always face down. Camila lingers outside his office long after the kids have gone to bed. When Olivia walks by, she hears her laugh. Soft, teasing. It's nothing, she tells herself, until it isn't. A small glass bottle rests in the center console of Eric's car. It's not hers. The scent is luxurious, expensive. Olivia lifts it to her nose, inhaling the floral and vanilla notes. She's smelled this before, on Camila. Her grip tightens around the bottle. It's not paranoia. It's not in her head. Everything changes. She starts watching. The way Camila flips her hair when Eric speaks, how his eyes darken when she walks away. Every interaction feels scripted, rehearsed. She just needs proof. Eric sleeps soundly beside her, breaths even, peaceful. Olivia's hands tremble as she picks up his phone. Her heart pounds against her ribs as she enters his passcode, their anniversary. The screen unlocks. Her pulse stutters. Messages flood the screen. "I can't stop thinking about you. You taste like sin. Last night was incredible." Her breath catches. This isn't casual. This is love. She grips the phone, teeth clenched, tears burning. Eric. Her Eric. The man she built a life with. The man who swore he loved her. She wanted to be wrong. She wasn't. The rage is instant, blistering. Her fingers tighten around the phone. She wants to wake him up, demand answers, scream. But she doesn't. She waits. She plans. The next evening, Olivia sits in the dimly lit room, waiting. Eric walks in, his gaze flicking toward her, then away. She straightens. "How long?" Eric pauses mid-step. His mouth opens, then shuts. "Olivia." "How long?" she repeats, voice steady but cold. His throat bobs. "It's not—" She shoves the phone into his hands. The messages flash back at him like an open wound. Eric exhales sharply, running a hand down his face. "It was a mistake," he mutters. "It meant nothing." Olivia lets out a hollow laugh. "Nothing? You told her you loved her." Eric's jaw tightens. He doesn't deny it. And in that moment, something inside Olivia shatters. She thought she knew him. Now, he's a stranger. Eric watches as she slowly stands, eyes burning with something dark and unforgiving. This isn't over. Not yet. The next morning, Olivia finds Camilla in the kitchen sipping coffee like she owns the place. Camilla doesn't flinch, doesn't look guilty. She smiles. "Morning." Olivia clenches her fists. "How long?" Camilla tilts her head, lips curving into something smug. "You already know, don't you?" She leans in slightly, voice dropping to a whisper. "You were never enough for him." Olivia spins around, rage trembling beneath her skin. Eric stands in the doorway, arms crossed. "You need to calm down." She lets out a bitter laugh. "Calm down? You're being irrational," he sighs. "You're overreacting." The words knock the air from her lungs. Eric and Camilla exchange a look. And for the first time, Olivia wonders if this was ever just an affair. The betrayal cuts deeper than she thought possible. This isn't just cheating. This is a game. And she refuses to be the loser. Days blur together. Olivia stops eating, stops sleeping. Her mind loops through the same images. Eric and Camila. Their laughter, their whispers. She's drowning. Wine replaces water. Pills replace sleep. Her hands tremble when she pours another drink. She doesn't recognize herself anymore. Eric sits across from her at the dinner table. "You need help." His voice is flat, emotionless. She blinks. "Excuse me." He sighs. "This isn't healthy. Maybe we should separate." Divorce. He says it like it's nothing, like their life together meant nothing. Olivia lets out a laugh, sharp, empty, chilling. She isn't crazy. They are, and she's about to prove it. She lies awake, staring at the ceiling. A single thought plays on repeat. What if she was gone? Would Eric love her again? Would he see her the way he used to? Would she get her family back? Olivia opens her laptop. She types in the search bar. Accidents. Self-defense. Methods of making someone disappear. Her breath is steady, controlled. This isn't paranoia. This is justice. Her hands hover over the keyboard. Her heart pounds. No, yes. The answer comes in the quiet, and it changes everything. Olivia's fingers hovered over the keyboard before she typed the message. Every word felt deliberate, like a chess move. "We need to talk. Come by tonight." The response was almost instant. "Sure, let's talk." No hesitation, no concern. Camila was walking straight into the lion's den. Camila stepped through the doorway, her confidence as sharp as the heels she wore. "What? You need advice on how to keep your husband interested?" She smirked, tossing her purse onto the counter. Olivia's grip tightened around the wine glass in her hand. Her pulse pounded in her ears. "Sit down." Camila chuckled. "Or what? You'll cry?" Olivia lunged first, shoving Camila hard. The younger woman barely staggered. Instead, she laughed, shaking her head. "Pathetic." Camila sneered. "No wonder he got bored." Olivia saw red. The rage had been simmering, waiting for this moment to explode. Camila's palm cracked against Olivia's cheek, a sting that sent her reeling. A scream, a shove, a crash as the wine glass shattered against the tile. The living room transformed into a battleground of betrayal, fists and fury replacing words. Camila reached for something. Olivia didn't see what. Fear took over. Instincts screamed. This couldn't end like this. Olivia's fingers closed around the cool handle of the kitchen knife. Camila's eyes widened in recognition. Not fear, just surprise. "You wouldn't dare," she hissed. The knife glinted under the dim light as Camila lunged. They clashed, hands clawing, struggling for control, and then a gasp, a sharp, wet gurgle. Camila staggered backward, her hands pressing against her stomach, trying to stop what couldn't be stopped. The blood seeped between her fingers, spreading, dark and thick. The arrogance drained from her face, replaced by something unfamiliar, fear. Camila crumpled to the floor. Her lips parted, but no words came. Just a final exhale, soft and broken. Olivia's own breath hitched, her body frozen. She stared at the knife, at her blood-slicked hands. Her knees buckled, and she pressed her back against the cabinets. "Oh my God," she whispered. A line had been crossed, and there was no going back. Olivia's body trembled uncontrollably. The knife clattered onto the floor, the sound unnervingly loud in the silence. Her thoughts screamed, "What have I done?" The blood spread across the floor like an ink blot, dark and damning. She pressed 2 fingers to Camila's neck. No pulse, no movement. She was gone. A voice cut through the suffocating stillness. "Olivia?" She turned just as Eric stepped into the room. His gaze flickered from the blood to Camila's motionless body. He inhaled sharply. "Jesus Christ!" Eric staggered back, his hands threading through his hair. "What the hell did you do?" Olivia opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Eric paced, hands on his hips, muttering curses under his breath. Olivia rocked back and forth, arms wrapped around herself. "I didn't mean to," Eric's voice snapped. "That doesn't matter. We have to do something." Eric inhaled deeply, forcing himself to think. "Nobody has to know," he said. His voice was tight, calculated. Olivia barely nodded, too numb to argue. Eric grabbed Camilla's lifeless body, dragging her toward the back door. He smashed a window, kicked over a chair. "We'll make it look like a break-in," he muttered. The water ran red, then clear, but her hands still felt tainted. She scrubbed harder, her fingers raw. The guilt wouldn't wash away. Eric wiped his prints from the knife, from the door handle, but neither of them noticed the security camera across the street. It blinked red. Recording. Eric grabbed Olivia's face, forcing her to meet his gaze. "We forget this ever happened," he said. She nodded, but deep down she knew. Secrets like this didn't disappear. They destroyed. The weight of what they had done loomed over Olivia and Eric like a dark cloud. Every smile felt forced, every conversation laced with the tension of an unspoken truth. At first they tried to pretend nothing had changed, but the paranoia soon became unbearable. Olivia found herself looking over her shoulder constantly, wondering if someone could see the guilt in her eyes. Even Eric, usually so composed, seemed to be unraveling, his nervousness showing in small, uncharacteristic gestures. They were far from the perfect couple they had once appeared to be. As the police arrived to examine the break-in they had staged, Olivia tried to steady her breathing, but every question, every probing look, seemed to dig deeper into her soul. The inconsistencies were subtle, but they were there. No struggle, no signs of forced entry. Why had nothing been stolen? Olivia could feel the weight of the detective's eyes on her. Each glance felt like a noose tightening. Meanwhile, Camilla's family wouldn't let go. They pushed relentlessly for answers, for justice. Camilla wouldn't have just disappeared without a fight, they insisted. They had no idea how right they were. A knot tightened in Olivia's chest when the detective asked her about the details of that night. Her hands trembled slightly as she spoke, and Eric's patience was thinning with each passing moment. The cracks in their story had started to show, and neither of them realized that the walls were already closing in. It didn't take long for the first break in the case. A neighbor, who had been watching from her window, reported seeing Camilla enter the house that night, but never leave. It was a detail that seemed innocuous at first, but it was enough to raise suspicions. The neighbor's gossip about a late-night visitor spread like wildfire, and the detectives had something to follow. The lies were starting to unravel. Eric and Olivia gave differing versions of the night's events. Their timelines didn't align, and the inconsistencies were more than just mistakes. They were the kind of errors that would crack a case wide open. The detective sat across from them, his pen moving rapidly as he jotted down every discrepancy. But it was the forgotten security camera, hidden in the corner of the neighbor's porch, that would expose everything. There were no masked intruders, no signs of anyone sneaking in. There was only the cold truth. Camilla had entered and never left. The detective knew the game was up when he saw the camera footage. There would be no escaping the truth now. The interrogation room felt colder than it had ever been. Olivia sat rigid in the chair, her stomach tight, her chest rising and falling erratically. The sharp sound of the detective's voice cut through the silence, his questions cutting through her resolve. "Why did Camilla come to your house that night?" Olivia couldn't look at him. She couldn't even breathe. The pressure mounted as every question seemed to drill deeper. Her answers became more strained, more hesitant. She could feel the walls closing in, and she knew, the detectives already knew, they were just waiting for her to break. And break she did. "It was an accident," she cried out, her voice cracking. "It wasn't supposed to happen. She came at me. I just lost control." Her hands shook violently as tears flowed freely, but she knew deep down, accidents didn't need cover-ups. In the next room, Eric was already thinking about his escape. He didn't hesitate when the truth was laid bare in front of him. Olivia lost control, he said without a second thought. I tried to stop her. He saved himself, and in doing so, condemned her. The courtroom was a battleground, with emotions running high on all sides. Olivia sat in her chair, trying to hold it together as the defense argued for leniency. Temporary insanity, they said. A moment of weakness, a mental break caused by betrayal. But the prosecution was relentless. They painted her as a cold-blooded woman, consumed by jealousy and revenge. They pulled no punches, showing the text messages, the proof of her rage. And the jury, sitting there, eyes fixed on her every move, could feel the weight of the accusations. Olivia cried on the stand, her voice breaking with each word. I never meant for this to happen, she sobbed, looking at the family who had lost so much. But they stared at her coldly, their faces unforgiving. Camilla's family wanted justice, and they wanted Olivia to pay for the life she had stolen. The jury deliberated for hours, but in the end, there was only one answer. Guilty. 15 years. 15 years of Olivia's life, gone, never to return. The judge's voice sounded distant and final as the sentence was handed down. Eric's walk out of the courtroom was a quiet victory. He was free, no handcuffs, no chains. He'd saved himself by betraying his wife. The freedom he'd earned came with a price, though. At home, he reached out to his son, but the boy recoiled, pulling away from him. The child's eyes were full of disgust. You let Mom go to prison, he whispered, and those words were a knife in Eric's chest. The guilt that had never truly left him came rushing back. His house was cold, silent. Eric tried to make excuses, to explain to his son that he hadn't meant for things to go this far, but the child wouldn't listen. And his daughter? She wouldn't even look at him. The silence in the house was suffocating, and no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't escape it. At night, he would stare at his reflection in the mirror, the words Olivia had said echoing in his mind. Did you ever love me? And he would wonder, had he, or had he only loved himself? Olivia's gaze wandered to the cracked ceiling above her prison bed. The sterile, white light flickered above, casting long shadows across the cold, unforgiving walls. Each night, she relived it all. The way Camilla's blood had stained her hands, the sickening thud of the knife sinking into flesh. Every mistake, every moment of rage that had led her here. Her mind replayed the fateful choice she had made over and over again. One single decision had erased everything. The life she had built, the love she thought was real, the family she had once held close. What had it been for? Camilla? Her husband's betrayal? Revenge? In the end, nothing remained. Nothing except the haunting echoes of what she'd lost. No family, no future. Olivia was no longer a mother, no longer a wife. She had traded everything for a fleeting moment of vengeance. Was it worth it? Was Camilla truly worth losing everything she had built? The guilt gnawed at her constantly, but there was no turning back. The past was a weight she would carry forever, and she wondered if there was any redemption left. But it didn't matter anymore. The walls of her prison cell felt like the only reality left to her. There was no escape. Every night it came to her. The face, Camilla's face, sometimes pleading, her eyes wide with terror, begging for mercy. Other times a twisted smile as if mocking Olivia from beyond the grave. The blood. It never faded. It followed her into her dreams, staining every thought, every moment. Even in the silence of her cell, she could hear Camilla's voice echoing in her mind, accusing her, calling her a murderer. Olivia had thought that her revenge would give her peace, that it would silence the pain of betrayal. But it only multiplied the ache, twisting it into something darker, more consuming. She was left with nothing but the image of that lifeless body. And every night, the nightmares came, as relentless as her own guilt. Was she justified? Was this the price of betrayal? In her heart, Olivia didn't know anymore. She had tried to justify her actions, to believe that Camilla had stolen everything from her. But now, in the solitude of her prison, She wondered if she had simply allowed her desperation to turn her into something worse. Was she a victim of her circumstances, or was she just another woman who had let betrayal drive her to madness? She would never know. The answer didn't matter. What mattered was the truth she could no longer deny. She had become the very thing she hated. Eric stood outside the courthouse, free. No handcuffs, no chains. He had betrayed his wife, sacrificed her to save himself, and now he was a free man. But freedom was a hollow thing. Every step he took, every breath he took, was heavy with the weight of his own guilt. His children refused to speak to him. Their silence was worse than any prison sentence. They blamed him for what had happened to their mother. He had chosen to save himself, and in doing so, he had lost them. He had lost everything that had once mattered. Eric walked into the empty house. It was cold, silent. The walls, once filled with laughter and warmth, now stood as hollow reminders of a life that no longer existed. He reached for his son, but the boy recoiled, pulling away from him as if he were a stranger. There was no warmth in his touch, no affection in his gaze. His family was gone, destroyed by his own hands. The house felt too big, the silence too loud. He had won. He was free. But at what cost? Every room in the house felt like a tomb, a reminder of what he had lost. He thought he had escaped the consequences, but the loneliness that enveloped him was far worse than any punishment he could have imagined. Olivia's story, her name, spread through the news, another headline in the never-ending cycle of true crime. Her face became a part of the tragic narrative, but soon the world would forget her name. The whispers would die down. People would move on. She would become just another story, a cautionary tale of betrayal and revenge. But in her heart, the past would never be buried. It would live on, seeping into every waking moment, every dream. She had made her choices, and now she would live with them forever. Eric sat alone in his darkened room, staring at his reflection in the mirror. His thoughts were haunted by Olivia's words, the way she had looked at him just before the trial, her eyes filled with desperation and betrayal. "Did you ever love me?" she had asked. He had saved himself, he had walked free. But the past didn't vanish, it lingered, in the eyes of his children, in the silence of his home, and in the mirror, where his own reflection seemed to mock him. The shadow of guilt followed him wherever he went, and no matter how hard he tried to escape it, it was always there, waiting for him. And karma, he knew, was always waiting.